That's fine.
All right, welcome back to Sundown with Alex. This is my guest, Miles Blakley.
Let's try that one more time.
Blakley?
Blakley.
Okay. Hello and welcome back to Sundown with Alex. This is my guest, Miles Blakley. Would you like to introduce yourself, Miles?
Yeah, this is Miles Blakley.
Yeah.
Hi. Thanks for having me on, Alex, first of all. But yeah, no, I'm really excited to be here to talk to you about some of the stuff that I do. I'm the president of the UA Young Democrats here on campus. I'm also in the Navy Reserves. I was a field organizer for the U of A campus with Mission for Arizona, which is the Democratic Coordinated Campaign. And yeah, I do a lot of other really cool stuff that I look forward to kind of talking about. Not to sound narcissistic. I'm excited to just talk generally.
Well, no, I mean, that's the whole point, is to get to know you and also like the club at UA Young Dems.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, really excited to be here and thank you for having me on.
Yeah, and actually some of my questions were kind of more in depth of you. Like, so tell me about yourself, like your upbringing, like what led you to where you are today, being like the president of the UA Young Dems?
Yeah,
like what influenced you?
Yeah, so I'll start in the middle and then I'll work back and forth.
Okay.
So I was in high school. This is like my junior, senior, like latter half junior year, early senior year. I wanted to be a doctor for the longest time. I was like, I'm going to be a heart surgeon. Wow. I have this plan. Yeah, like that's what I'm going to do.
That's drastically different.
Than when I took all the medical classes. I was president, ironically, of like the HOSA, which is like the Health Occupation Students of America club. I was president of the sports medicine club. Wow. I did sports medicine. I had my like stupid like purple polo and like the fanny pack and stuff. And like, yeah, I did all the medical stuff. And I woke up in the morning. I was like, I don't like the medical part of this. I like the. Did
you like the getting involved part
I like
of
the getting
it?
involved. I like the shaking hands. I like the institution sort of part of it. I liked the, I learned Robert's rules. I had to lead these meetings. I had to make decisions. I liked that part of it. And so I spent that like year, with that identification that I didn't really want to go into medicine exactly. I wanted to go into that sort of administrative field. But I don't want to work for a company. I don't want to have like some shitty desk job where I'm in a cubicle all day.
Just working like a 9 to 5 every day.
Exactly. Yeah. I spent that year doing like I did everything that year. I continued in sports med and I still did that just in case I was like wrong. I worked. I was the captain of the improv team, so that's cool. I did theater. I did speech and debate, and I had I had a few different AP classes that year, but the one that has stuck out the most is that AP Gov class that I took.
AP Gov.
And I was like, oh wait, shit, and this is 2016, so Trump is is running.
He's like full on the campaign trail at this point, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, and I've been thinking about it, and I've been thinking about my upbringing and kind of where I was. It was a very like sort of existential moment, but and thinking about all of that, and I remember watching like the Bush election with my mom, watching Romney Obama, and then McCain and Obama. I remember like those election nights really, really heavily. I remember going to the polling. Like my mom would always take me to go vote because she's like, this is important, and she really reinforced that. And also like laying on the couch at night, like sitting with my mom and watching like the Colbert Report and watching like the news. It's something that we still do, not Colbert as much, but like the news. Politics has been a part of my life since I was a kid. I just didn't realize it. I thought that was normal. And when I realized that wasn't exactly like the most normal thing, I took an interest.
Did it like spark something once you made that like whole realization?
When I heard Trump call, when Trump came to that escalator and was like, some of them are good people, I was like, oh no, this guy, he can't be in charge.
Oh, is that after the was it Charlottesville, or I think
something like that?
Was it the good people on both sides?
Good people, no. So that was good people on both sides. One thing he was talking about Mexicans specifically.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, they're bringing rapists, they're bringing criminals, they're not bringing their best people. Some of them are good people. Like, no, f that. Like, that's ridiculous. Like,
I think it's crazy too. Like he had an audience there that was cheering him on.
Yeah,
that was disappointing to me personally.
Yeah, well, I remember like Jon Stewart was still host of the Daily Show, and I remember Jon Stewart being like, "This guy's gonna win," and he did, for a lot of good reasons. Like not good reasons, but for a lot of reasons. He ran a good campaign. And I hate to fucking say that, but
I think he innovated like social media use for political candidates, didn't he?
Yeah. But kind of going back to like how I got started. I was actually the only teenager or the only person in 2016 to knock doors for Hillary.
And that's how you started?
That's how I started.
Instantly?
Yeah, I signed up. I signed up and I was like, cool, I'm going to go.
Who'd you knock doors for?
I knocked doors for Hillary. This was after the...
Was it through an organization, though? Or
No, it was through the Clinton campaign.
It was for the Clinton campaign?
Yeah, I think this is before the Democratic coordinator was, like, really a thing.
Yeah.
Democratic coordinator is sort of a novel idea in terms of, like, the political realm. So I knocked doors for the Clinton campaign, some, like, random organizer. Like, which I didn't know he was an organizer. I just assumed he was, like, some guy who worked for the campaign.
Yeah.
Because like in your head, I think as a kid, like politics is all like men in suits, like
yeah,
even though it's not. It's usually just like bros in hats. But yeah, so he came up, he dropped me off a clipboard and some like petitions.
You just got at it.
Got at it.
Starting in your neighborhood. You go driving around.
No, I was in like the this part of the city.
Oh,
it was like run down. There were dogs. Like there were like it's like where like all the it's like where where you don't go. Right?
Yeah,
it's like where you like your parents. Like
that's important though because I think voter turnout is usually lower in the suburbs. I think it's higher. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
yeah,
it's higher there. Correct.
Yeah, it is. It's usually higher, and that's because you have a lot of older folks who are out there, and you have a lot of folks who are really affected by their tax brackets in suburbs. That's not so true in lower income areas, and so as a kid, like, was it scary being 16 and in this area that you've never really been to before that is like is known to be dangerous? Like, yeah, totally.
Yeah,
like, scary. Since then, I have knocked doors in suburbs. I've knocked doors in cities. I've knocked doors in.
You've been all over the
place.
place.
I've been, like, everywhere. That location had the nicest people, who are the most willing to listen, and who like probably like, I wouldn't say the most prepared because like you said, like they weren't, people in lower income areas don't usually turn out as much, but they were definitely the most willing to listen, and they all everyone that I talked to that day made a plan to vote.
Yeah,
and made a commitment to vote for Hillary also because they knew that she was the best option for them. And so I think like people in suburbs, like I've had guns pulled on me, I've had dogs sicked after me, like it's
have life-threatening situations.
I've sprinted away from 2 dogs at my time door knocking, which isn't to scare anybody away from door knocking, by the way. I just have incredibly bad luck. So that's not like it's not a very common thing at all. But
so that leads me to ask you, like for door knocking, that's really important. Obviously, it turns some people to commit to certain candidates. What do you say to anyone who thinks like I think that's cool and all, but is it really worth it? Is it really worth going out and door knocking all day, spending my whole weekend?
So worth it. I think people who say that have the same idea that one vote doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Not true either way. One vote matters so much, and a single door that you've knocked matters incredibly.
You make genuine connections and friendships through these things too.
Exactly. And so I think that like not only has door knocking always been important, it's now becoming better and what it should have been the whole time. And that's how the party can serve you. And I think that the Democratic Party is the best party to do that, the best equipped, and they have the best intentions. Yeah. Even if they're not your ideal party, I think that, like absolutely door knocking is vital. I think that any sort of voter contact is vital because that's at the end of the day who's affected. I plan to eventually run for office, right? And it's going to be my motif to always work with my constituents, whether that's, in a city or in a congressional district or at a statewide level, like whatever I wind up doing, I really want to make sure that the people that I represent are heard are given that soapbox to tell me what they need. And so I can figure out.
That's really great to hear too. I don't think a lot of politicians ever really genuinely reach out. Anymore.
No, and so, but that's not how it should be, and I think that the landscape is changing for the better in that way, at least in some areas.
So after door knocking, what led you from door knocking to being the head of UA Young Dems?
Yeah, for sure. So
that little bridge right there.
Yeah. So like I said, door knocking in 2016. Came to the university as a freshman. I worked for District 2, which was not my favorite. It was under McSally. But I worked for District 2 just to talk to constituents. But again, it was very phony. It was through a script. Didn't love it. And then
did it feel kind of deprived of soul?
Oh yeah, I mean I got paid in pizza. It was terrible. So
I don't know if that's a fair exchange.
It's not at all. I was their top caller though. I mean, $500 a shift. It was terrible.
They better give you a lot of pizza then.
Yeah, I ate too much. But no, so then I left for the Navy. I did all that. With the Navy, I was stationed in Texas for my training. And I started helping out on Beto O'Rourke's campaign, just as a volunteer. I wasn't door knocking. I was actually helping set up events. So I would like full T-shirts.
Did you know about him beforehand?
I did. I had seen that video that I think all of us saw about Kaepernick. So he was like, yeah, fuck. That's
like 2016 time, 2015?
So that video was 2017.
2017.
Because he was in the 2018 midterm.
Okay.
And so... Yeah, I was there in 2018 when he was running, I saw him run. I was like immediately impassioned. This dude is like, he remains genuinely one of the best politicians that are like around today. He's just not successful because he's a Democrat.
What makes you say one of the best politicians? To you, like what impresses you so much about him?
Yeah, so I think what we touched on earlier, he's very genuine. He legitimately cares about the people of Texas. He during his 2018 run, he visited every city in Texas twice.
Wow.
Insane.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of fucking
That's
cities.
a lot.
Or every county. I'm sorry. Every city would be like near impossible. Every county in Texas twice, but hitting different cities each time. He talked to little people. He talked to the big people. Like he cares. And
no person is too big or too small to go talk to.
Exactly. So anyway, I was 2018 working for that guy. Love that guy. He's awesome.
Yeah.
And then I came home and I had to wait the latter half of the semester to come back to school. Because I'm in the Navy Reserves, so I go drill 1 week in a month, and like that's it. And by drill, I mean like I go pretend like I'm in the Navy.
Yeah.
And so, and so I had to wait for the semester to end so I could come back in spring of the following year. So I was like taking some like community college courses. And Kirsten Cinema was running, who I now have some regrets of helping out, but she was kind of cool then.
Yeah.
And so I actually got paid. That was my first paid political gig. Like actually in money.
Was that pretty exciting for you to like?
It was cool. Yeah. It felt nice. Yeah. It felt like a step in the right direction, which like it obviously was because I'm getting interviewed. So
yeah.
So I started doing that, and then I got paid for that. It was still just like door knocking, but I was a volunteer lead, so I'd also train. Yeah, and so we did that, or I did that. Kirsten won, yay, but they lost. I was sad. And then I came back to school. Started working in with a different club and an organization that wasn't had nothing to do with politics. And then so Mark Kelly was running. And Mark Kelly's in the Navy. I'm in the Navy. He's an astronaut. I think space is pretty neat. And he's a Democrat. I'm a Democrat.
Yeah,
like,
so just really hit home.
Yeah, really hit home. I think, like, especially, like, being a military member who is a Democrat is really, really big. You feel like you're in the minority a lot of the time, even though you actually, like, aren't. I was the first on that on that man's volunteer list. I think I was literally the first name. He had one field organizer in the entire state for a while. Her name is Sarah Landers. She's awesome, and I thank her for getting me like started. She met with me here in Tucson. We sat down for like 10 minutes, and she was like, "How about you found a campus club?" I established that club. Nothing really happened with it until they hired more field organizers. This is where I met Lily Greenberg Call, who's still a really great friend of mine. She works out in DC now. I just talked to her the other day. She works out in DC now for like this like environmental NGO. She's really dope. She's the coolest. So she and I got really started on founding this club. I met this guy, Michael Winter, who's still one of my really good friends. And he was the only member for a while. And then we slowly started to recruit. And as we were building, students from McKelly was becoming a thing. Mission River, like Arizona was becoming a thing. So we were transitioning like into that. COVID happened. And then I got called out by the Navy to go help with COVID relief in California. And so I was attached to the USNS Mercy, which is the ship. And then I eventually was on a special teams that opened clinics up in Orange County to house recovering COVID patients. And that was really cool. But we had to do everything remotely because the world was like in turmoil. So
yeah, it sounded like you were getting everything going with your political stuff, and then
it was ramping, and then cut.
Yeah. Did you know immediately how you were going to go about this, or were you guys like, what are we gonna do?
No, I was like, okay, well, I guess this is not gonna happen.
You just thought it was done.
Yeah, I was like, there goes like my passion. I'm stuck in California. No, but also like the whole world felt like it was like ending.
Yeah.
I mean, like I think everyone.
It was pretty scary.
It was weird.
Yeah.
It felt like not to like throw the word around, but like it felt dystopic. Like it felt, end of timesy. But which again I think is largely due to the president. But, so started doing that, and we finally figured out Zoom. Summer was hard. There wasn't like a recruitment to do, so just like a lot of phone banking. It was like a lot of talking to folks, telling them like, hey, this campaign is still happening, this election is still happening. You know, it was like a lot of like updating and education, which is.
Did you model your game plan after anything that you've seen before, or? Because phone banking's been around.
Phone banking's been around.
But the Zoom stuff and everything, like that's pretty new.
Yeah, we sort of just like modeled an office.
Yeah.
So we had like office hours where people would just come into the Zoom and hang out, which like was awesome. Yeah. So summer was like low key. When things started building back up though.
Yeah.
We had I think you recall because your sister was a part of it, but we had like the fellows, and so we onboarded a bunch of fellows, which was dope. At that point, I had.
Is that when you start getting like an actual established thing going again?
Yes, and it helped because I was A, finishing up my mission in California, and B, I had been hired on as a fellow through Progressive Pipeline.
Yeah.
Who I also want to plug. Go to progressivepipeline.org or com. Just like Google Progressive Pipeline. If you want to get involved in politics, that is a great first step. They're an awesome organization who have paid fellowships in a lot of different sectors. They're brand new, but they're really, really, really good. So. Progressive Pipeline, they got me my start in the Mark Kelly campaign. I got paid for it, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, I started some real work. And these fellows, like, they were my fellows. Like, they were like Lily's fellows, but they were also my fellows because I was like Lily's like number 2, right? And so, we got
connections to them and everything.
Exactly, yeah. And so from there, we actually got to establish a better team, and we got up to like around 20 people who were actively part of like the group, as opposed to just like me, Michael, Leo, and Lily. Having these students who just cared so much, even in the midst of a pandemic, and they were like, we're going to make like calls. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that was awesome.
Did you expect to see that at all when you started this? Like the passion that they had? Or
I expected... I have such faith in students.
Yeah.
I hate it when people say students don't vote. That's not the truth. Students,
I hear that pretty often.
Yeah, no. Here's what I believe is the truth. Students vote if you can talk to them, and if you treat them not like a student, like a voter. If
you actually educated them and sat down with them.
Exactly. If you, the campaign, if you, the candidate, came out, shook a 20-year-old's hand, I guarantee you they would care a lot more than they did the day before.
Yeah. I remember 2018, Bernie Sanders came to campus. Everyone was there.
Yeah.
A lot of people were there.
Yeah.
And I was already hearing then that young people don't vote.
Yeah. Yeah. You know why? Bernie treated people like people.
Yeah.
He treated young people like people.
A genuine human being.
And that's another reason that I like Beto. I got to ask him one time. I was like on his like Facebook Live, and they picked my question: how do you get young people to vote? Give them the microphone. Hand them.
Give them a voice.
Yeah, give them a voice. Not only give them a voice, amplify the voice.
Yeah. Young
people are so like unheard, right? They're so unlistened to primarily, and it sucks. And that's why people don't vote. And so, did I expect to see the passion? Yes. I expected to see more of it when we were on campus. I thought we would have like a much larger group. But with the pandemic, I totally like understood why people weren't like they couldn't devote the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, no, I expected it, but I did not expect the camaraderie that would come from it. There's I'm still friends with a lot of people who I worked with on that campaign. And a lot of them are actually officers in UAYD. They transferred over, which is awesome. And I'm glad that I was a good enough leader for them to want to follow.
To want to follow you?
Yeah, that was really heartwarming.
Yeah.
Once those summer fellows came on, it was game time. Once I finished being a fellow and I got back to Arizona, a couple months had passed. I was still a fellowing. There was a small gap where I was just like a volunteer and I couldn't do a lot.
Yeah.
And then they offered me a full-time position, and so I did school and organizing at the same time.
A lot of work.
It was a lot. I bought a second laptop, and then the campaign sent me a third, and I would often have all three open.
Did you ever imagine like how your life would have panned out had you stuck with going into medicine originally?
Yeah.
Looking back now,
I don't think that I would have hated it. But I wouldn't feel the same about it. It doesn't suit me as well. So yeah, we do the campaign, we finish, we win. Spoiler alert, Biden won. And
how did that feel for you guys, by the way, after all that?
It was good, but I had been up for 72 hours when the news had come out. So I was like, cool, I'm gonna go to bed now.
It's kind of a segue into where I was gonna go. Is I hear a lot of people very interested if they're interested in voting in just the national presidential elections. Yeah. But what about local. Isn't that what impacts them the most?
It's what impacts them the most. It's where their
state
vote,
and local. My bad.
It's where the vote, like quote unquote, counts the most because there are fewer people voting, right? So there's more likelihood of a tie, or there's more of a likelihood of like whatever. But yeah, it affects you way more on the personal level. Yeah. I can say that with Adrian Fontes not in as Maricopa County recorder. Maricopa County is worse off, and you can tell. Like if there's one thing that you leave this podcast from, if you haven't left because you were bored about my life story, pay attention to local elections. Pay attention to those bottom of the ballot people. Go to their websites, read their proposals, learn what they're all about, because it matters.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm gonna do the overarching the long podcast, but I'm gonna do a highlights version, which
okay, awesome,
like 5 minute.
Okay,
version.
Cool. Then make sure that's in there. Then.
Yeah.
No, so sort of just to wrap up the story, because we're in the last leg of that now, and then we can move on to any other questions that you have. But
okay.
So Mission for Arizona, we won. It was awesome. One thing I was really pissed off about the entire election was that there was no Young Dems presence. We could not get in touch with them at either the statewide or the UA level.
I remember being here myself, 2017 to 2018 before the pandemic, or 2019, my bad. Yeah. I never heard of them.
No, exactly.
Never heard of them.
And no offense to previous leadership. I love the previous president. He was super dope.
Yeah.
Carlos is great.
Yeah, that's not a knock on them.
Yeah, it's not knocking them at all. But I wanted to make sure that, because I don't think that this year is going to be spectacular. I don't think that, to be perfectly frank, I don't think this year is going to be the best year that we've ever had, because I don't want it to be.
Yeah.
I want this to be the foundational year where we figure our shit out, so that when I leave, someone can step in and then continue that. I want this to be the year that sustains.
Yeah. I have a question about when you leave later.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I call this the Phoenix Rising year for a reason. It's because we are literally coming out of the ashes,
starting to reassemble yourself.
Reassemble and hopefully become that Phoenix again. And, where we're at now, we've run more events than Young Dems have in years here on campus. We have a lot of really great projects going on. We have UA Votes, which is to secure every election day after from the 2022 midterm and on, to become a campus-wide holiday. So we're working on that. We're getting petitions signed for that. We have another project that just came up that you'll hear more about. And yeah, we have a lot of really great stuff going on. If anyone who's listening is interested in joining, follow us at Arizona Young Democrats. We'll have the old 80s looking logo that'll say Arizona Democrats, or it says UA Young Dems, I think. So follow us there. DM us if you want to get involved. If you want to help out, you get to shake a lot of really cool hands.
Also internship opportunities as well.
Yes, so I put internship opportunities almost every day in the group chat. They're all pretty much, I think they're all paid. And I get a lot of people asking for more interns, and so you have opportunities to get paid. You have opportunities to build some real hard and soft skills that can apply to a bunch of different positions, even outside of politics. And so if you're interested in joining, please DM us on Instagram, and we'll get you involved. But
a lot of shameless plugs tonight.
So many. So UA Young Dems started. It's been really, really great. I'm looking forward to the rest of the year and finishing out on a stronger level as we can. And I'm looking forward to passing off the torch.
Yeah, and besides, I've seen you guys tabling out there sometimes. Yeah. Besides tabling, how do you plan on getting more student support?
Yeah, it'll be easier. I'm gonna be around, but it'll be easier next year when there's an actual election happening.
Yeah.
Like I said, so we're planning on partnering specifically with campaigns. We are getting Adrian Fontes to come, and we'll get his petition. We'll get.
You think there'll be a lot more excitement when it's an actual election, midterm going on?
Not excitement. There'll be more tools.
More tools. Okay.
Campaigns will have a line of sight right now. Right now, all that's happening is that people who are going to run are getting their petition signed so that they can run. And that's really great and it's important. It's not particularly exciting, and there's not a lot to it. So I think that once more things are happening, we'll partner with campaigns and with Mission for Arizona to get things done. We'll do some endorsement. We're going to hold a whole meeting where we choose which candidates to endorse. And just a lot of different things to make sure that students can vote. But again, the number one thing is going to be voter contact. So I'll try and gain access to the call lists from the county party. Start making calls to UA students specifically, start doing door knocking in UA populated areas, start doing some real organizing, on campus that gets people out.
And I mean, it's not just a club for internships and going door knocking and stuff. You guys also have like Mario Kart events,
and stuff
like that.
Yeah.
It's about making friends too. And
yes, as someone who cares too much about the business side, it's definitely about making friends. We hold social events all the time,
and I think that's really important too, because college, I mean, at least for me in my first years, felt lonely. In a school so big, it can feel so lonely.
I mean, like, I was always the guy who, like, shook everyone's hand and introduced myself. Yeah. So, like, I've never had a problem, like, making friends, but I've had a problem keeping them. It helps to have that club. It helps to have that space where you can do that, you know, and you can work on yourself as a person, but you can also work with people who you know, wind up caring about. A lot of my best friends right now who are, like, on campus, and best friends generally. I don't mean like best friends right now, but a lot of my best friends have come from this campaign, you know, or from this club. Jean, our treasurer, Leo, our political director, your sister, who's one of my, I would consider a good friend at this point, you know. Hayden, my vice president, you know, not to keep like name dropping, but like all of the officers have been really, really awesome, and you know, have
and all very friendly and accepting.
Super friendly.
I've talked to a lot of them, and they're all like a super welcoming environment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also want it to be an environment where people can come and be themselves.
Yeah.
And be treated like a person. There's a lot of discrimination in the world, you know, that exists, and especially against women on college campuses. There's so much discrimination. I had someone from the club come up and thank me for, you know, giving them a space where they get treated like a person, and that, like, I went home crying.
Really? It just meant a lot to you?
I hated that happened. And I'm glad that they could find a place where they were safe.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, it's a safe environment. It's a fun environment to be in, you know, and, so a lot of social events, a lot of cool business things, a chance to make a difference, a chance to get out there and fight. And like that's what it's all about.
Well, it's great to hear. Any last words you have for anyone out there who's listening?
Follow Arizona Young Dems on Instagram. Like our page, DM us if you want to get involved. Pay attention to the statewide elections. And whatever you do it well.
Yeah.
Cool.
Miles Blakley.
Awesome.
It's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you, Alex Sanchez. I appreciate it.
Thank you.